Okay, I got to change mine now. I can't be doing that.
Welcome everyone to the Dad's.
No. I refuse.
I just want to let the record show. I picked spinning Anakin. Try spinning. That's a good trick. Trevor went with an Overwatch character voiced by Mon Mothma.
Correct.
And Sean copied me. Is that Get Smart?
It's Get Smart when they're going through the laser maze.
I don't get it. Is there a laser maze in there?
Only when he shoots out freaking lightsabers from his thing and he starts spinning like a madman and he's cutting everything up with his lasers.
Yeah, that was cool.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Dad's a Dagobah. We have
Wait, I don't know what to do.
Don't interrupt my introduction. We have here a new person joining us. It's the great Trevor Anderson. Welcome, Trevor, to the podcast.
Yay!
Trevor has been a huge fan of the show and been talking to us and just has been dying to be. So we did something crazy and we reached out and invited him. We don't do that often, but we'd like to invite Trevor. And basically because he's the only one who's ever wanted to be on our podcast, so we're like, yeah, sure, go ahead, let's do it.
He's the only friend we have that's ever asked, and it's like, if you just ask, we let you on, so I don't know why everyone else doesn't do that more often.
I mean, we had Brett on one time, but that was kind of like against his will, it seemed like.
Yeah, he was the one, didn't he think that there were going to be Gungans in episode 9 or something? I'm really hoping that Trevor's bringing more insight than Brett did when he was on the show.
Well, there should have been Gungans in episode 9 in Brett's defense, though.
Yeah, I don't think it could have detracted from the episode at all if there had been. So, Trevor, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little background you have going on there. Sean, shut up.
Is this an interview? What are we doing?
Sure. So I've been I've been really excited about the Star Wars space for quite some time now, and I'm very excited for this opportunity. Background. I'm a good friend of the show, and the folks who are on it. Big fan of Star Wars. Let's see, some things to give your audience, your viewer base, some like context about where I'm coming from in my Star Wars opinions. My ranking of Star Wars films, I have Revenge of the Sith as number 1. I have The Force Awakens as number 9 for the core Star Wars movies.
Whoa! Wow.
Oh, I don't know if we have time to get into the full defense, but love the original, or love the prequel trilogy. That's like my favorite of the 3 trilogies. I would watch it before I would watch the original trilogy. Revenge of the Sith is my number 1. Force Awakens is my number 9. I could go through the whole list, but we don't have time for that, probably.
Just tell me where Last Jedi ranks.
Last Jedi is number 8, I guess. Or no. Last Jedi is, I guess, number 7. Because I think it goes Last Jedi number 7, Rise of Skywalker number 8, Force Awakens number 9.
Listen, at least it's the best of the 3.
Listen, a more important question. Where do you rank Solo: A Star Wars Story?
Yeah, that's not, where does that?
It's
Number
gonna be
2?
right. Oh.
Number 2?
Okay, so I only saw it once, and then I haven't seen it since. It's probably based on that alone. It's probably based, or not that alone, but like based on that one viewing. I think it's below. I think it might be tied with Rise of Skywalker at number 8 there. If we're only adding in that one,
Fair enough.
So yeah,
okay.
Those are my. That's how I view Star Wars.
Well, I didn't realize we were inviting someone onto the podcast that would be so problematic.
We're regretting our choices.
Sorry, everyone.
Well, we're glad to have you. Sean, do you have anything you want to start us off with today with the episode?
Yes, I do. I want to hear what everybody's word of the week is. Trevor, if you've been tuning into the podcast, you know we kick every week off. What's the word of the week that you associate with this episode? I've got mine, and I can go first unless someone else wants to share.
Go for it, Sean. Share your word.
My word of the week is Shelob from Lord of the Rings, because that's what Andor and Melshi look like they get caught up in. They got basically caught up in a proximity Shelob mine where they were running for that quad jumper, and they were stuck, and it didn't look pleasant. They looked like little Frodo Baggins in that little web sack. So obviously that encapsulates the whole episode.
I'll go next. My word of the week is death.
Ooh.
The death of Andor's mother, off screen. So sad. Aunt Petunia, R.I.P.
Rip Aunt Petunia.
Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, crazy that they just killed her off screen. I mean, I thought she'd have some sort of role to play in the final 2 episodes, and maybe the role is her death brings him back to Ferrix, right? So, anyway.
We can talk about it more, but I was shocked that the last conversation between her and Andor, I was like, there's no way that's going to be the last conversation he has with his mother. Like, they're not that cruel to have it be so, like, unsatisfying. They're that cruel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Trevor, you got a word of the week for us?
Okay, so I decided against the word tease as my word of the week, and the word of the week is emo. Because of B2 emo and the emotions that I felt with a B2 emo. Because like maybe genuinely one of the B2 emo scenes were some of the most like gut-wrenching scenes that I've ever seen in Star Wars.
What are some other emotional droid scenes? Because I feel like Star Wars has a lot of them, actually. I feel like K2SO's demise in Rogue One is emotional.
Uh-huh.
I feel like forgot her name droid from Solo, her demise is emotional.
L3,
Mhm.
isn't that her name?
L3, yes, and when she becomes part of the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good droid moments in Star Wars that really bring out the emotion.
When C-3PO loses his head and becomes part of a super battle droid?
No, that's not one of them. But when C-3PO recognizes one of his oldest friends, Babu Frick, emotion.
He's my oldest friend. Hi, I'm Babu Frick. Oh, okay. Well, let's start. I think we can. That may be a good place to start, Trevor, because I think that's where. Do we start there in the? No. Do we start on the Narkina 5?
We start with them hanging on the rocks.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So Andor and Melshi are hanging on a cliff of rocks, hiding from the Empire. Seem like they're scouting things out, looking for them. And Melshi feels like he can't hang on much longer, but Andor is there to help him keep climbing, I guess. Or I guess they're hiding, right? So they're kind of staying motionless on that hillside. Why does the Empire care about him? That's what the Empire doesn't want them to get out. Like, but so what?
If you were the Empire, would you want a bunch of prisoners escaped? No, you would not. You don't want that propaganda getting out that all these prisoners escaped an Imperial facility. And then potentially the message too, as we see at the end of the episode, Melshi and Andor agreeing they've got to not only let people know that they escaped, but they got to let people know what the Empire's doing. The abuse, the injustices.
I just feel like it's just that small fish to be caring about them at all, but.
Well, this goes back to what we were talking about last week or 2 weeks ago. We like Andor and Melshi. We don't know what other type of people were locked up in that place. If I heard that in 20 miles away at a penitentiary there was a mass escape and 5,000 criminals were now out on the street, I'd be like, we better be rounding them up. Like I don't feel safe with them just running around, running amok.
That's true. That's true. I feel like they want you to feel like it's like a political prison type of vibe, but they don't really give you any reason to like assume that, because obviously like if these are all political prisoners or something like that, then like sure those guys can go free, right? But no, it seems like actual criminals are like there as well potentially. So should they be treated the way they are? No. Should they maybe still be locked up? Maybe a couple of them. I don't know. Let's see.
I guess it begs the question: what does the Empire do with the prisoners that they do round up? Are they just executing them, or are they putting them back to work and making?
They're putting them back to work, in my mind.
Okay.
Can I say something about the rock climbing, just real quick? Something a little bit. Thank you. I take back my time. So personal thing going on today, for the first time in my life, I did a stress test where they like hook up your EKG and you like walk on a treadmill or whatever, and it gets progressively harder. I only lasted 12 minutes. Okay. And I was watching that episode on Wednesday night and thought I would have just died. I would not have escaped that prison. Because even the 45 seconds that they were showing them hanging on to that rock face, I'd be like, I couldn't hang on that long. I'd be dead already. I would have fallen off already. Or I would have been waving down the TIE fighter like, take me back. I need the 3 square meals a day, please. So I just wanted to interject that.
I don't know. See, I'd be the guy that would have jumped off the platform and just died as soon as I hit the water.
See, I'd be the guy that would have been on the rock face, and when Melshi was like, don't tell me they're leaving, I'm like, give me a boost, Melshi. Give me a boost up. And I would have used his face as a platform to step up onto the top of the plateau.
No, yeah, I don't know. I think they have been hardened by their labor. They have been their hand muscles are in top form. The forearms are there, so they're prepped for this. The Empire has created the tools of its own destruction. So there you go.
Should we stick with them on Narkina 5 as they look for a quad jumper? It's kind of a fun scene, and Sean, you've already alluded to this with your Shelob comment. I thought it was honestly kind of funny. And when Melshi made a run for it, I was like, what? Like, here's the thing. We know they both survive, right? So we have that going into this. But it was still funny, like, oh, he's just going for it. He's like, they're not going to beat us to it. Like, look how slow they are. Then those web things just come and get on him. And I just started laughing. Like, oh, my gosh, these guys cannot catch a break, it seems. Well,
they caught a break in that their captors let them go immediately, and we're like, yeah, you guys want a free ride out of here? Sure thing.
Yeah, we'll take you.
And notice how the messaging there that I assume that they were native to Narkina 5.
Yeah.
And they don't like that the Imperial prison and the Imperial facility is like polluting their water and polluting, their either their livelihood or source of food or whatever it is. And so, they're going to stick it to the Empire. Like, we'll help these prisoners escape.
I don't know if you watch with subtitles on, but in the subtitles, it specifically like calls out the aliens as like they are speaking Narkinian. So they're definitely, I assume that implies they're definitely like the native species of this planet. And so yeah, it feels like there are going to be a lot of times in this show where they're going to say like, hey, here's how the Empire is like coming into places and ruining them. And so that's like, I feel like definitely what these folks, these good old boys have experienced.
Don't we also think it's kind of strange? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joseph. Your thought.
No, I was just going to say we saw the same thing on the previous planet with the. Why can I not think of it?
Aldhani.
With the eye. And then
Aldhani.
Aldhani, yes, thank you. And then on Cassin's homeworld too, the Empire came, and maybe it was just like it wasn't actually destroyed at that point, but it seems like the seeds of they're looking at this planet and they're coming is kind of set up there. So yeah, interesting point.
Don't we feel like it's kind of strange at how sparse the presence of non-human sentient beings is in this show? Like, there was not a single alien in that prison. And when we see these native Narkinians here, I'm like, are these like I don't think it's the first aliens we've seen, but I mean, the first aliens with a speaking part, maybe? Like, we haven't really seen a lot of aliens in Andor.
There was the alien that Cassian owed money, or he was there for the like to act as the muscle when dude was trying to get his loan back from Cassian.
Yeah. Okay.
On Ferrix.
There's the doctor with the 4 arms.
Oh yeah. Okay, there are some. I'm just forgetting.
In the blue light district, there was a hologram of some alien, but I think there were some aliens maybe in the blue light district. But other than that, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It must be an obvious choice from the director not to have them in there.
Oh, wasn't he with an alien woman and on the planet he got arrested on?
Oh yeah. And then we did see some aliens on that beach planet.
Yeah, okay. And then again, he goes back to get his money back again. There are a couple aliens that lounging in the bed,
sleeping in the room. Yeah. So there was an interview. I read an interview with Tony Gilroy, the creator of the show, and like his line about why there are less aliens, and he specifically calls out why there's no aliens in the prison, is because the line he kind of gave was like, well, one, I figure they've got their own prison, right? Like, aliens need their own type of bathrooms. They need their own type of facilities. Like, this facility is maximized for efficiency, so it's built for humans. So that was like his like in-universe reason why there weren't aliens there. But then also he said, like, hey, when you put aliens in a show, when you put aliens here, it brings up a lot of questions. Like, right there we have like a whole scene with aliens and like how they feel about the Empire coming into their planet, and he's like, to do that more and more, like we just didn't have the time or resources in this show to address all those questions. When you put aliens in, like to do right by those aliens, you have to put more resources into it and more thought and writing into it, and we just didn't have the resources, was essentially his answer. So yeah, it was like partially a conscious choice. It was partially like an in-universe choice, and I imagine, it might have also been like a choice of like, we don't want to pay for 100,000 puppets. So I don't know.
Okay, I think that covers Narkina 5. Where do we go to next? Is it jump to Coruscant with Mon Mothma, or are we going somewhere else?
I think we need to go to Ferrix. I think the transition is them hanging on the cliff, and then it's kind of like tears in his BMO's eyes or something. Like, there's kind of like a water solution, it seems like. And anyway, he's obviously very sad and doesn't want to leave the house and doesn't want to, I guess, like, abandon his post. Is that kind of what we're supposed to be reading here? Doesn't want to leave the house where he's been a helper for many years, it seems.
I don't know if it was you all who said it or if I like read it online, but I've been viewing B2 Emo as like a very loyal dog. And so this is like the dog whose like owner has passed away and they're still waiting at the door for them to come home from work or something. That's like the vibes I was getting from B2 Emo, is good dog.
It was interesting how I like that because it's interesting how they showed the grief through the droid. Like they didn't show the grief through the other people, right? Like her friends or the other people that she knew, mainly because Cassian wasn't there and neither was Bix and some of the other close people, but also it was just an interesting way of showing that emotion of she's gone and loss and sadness. And I don't think we've seen that sort of stuff other than like R2-D2 making like sad beeping noises, you know, that like has hit me with so much emotion before.
Yeah, and you know the way that what's the big guy's name? I don't know his name.
It's Brazos or something like that.
Okay, Brazos, the way that he interacts with B2 Emo is very much like you would talk to a dog or like a small child or something, just trying to distract him a little bit, trying to help him feel like he can be helpful in some way, that type of stuff. The negotiation that happens later about B2 Emo wanting to stay one more night type of thing. So yeah, I can see that comparison. So one, I want to talk a little bit about, our girl Cinta is like hanging out at the cafe across the street. And so is the undercover ISB agent. And they don't know that the other one is who they are. And if I was Cinta, I'd be like, doesn't this dude have a job? This guy's sitting in my cafe all day. And every time I walk away, he goes like this. How's it going? It looks like they're in the house. They're leaving the house now. Okay. Everything's the same as it was yesterday. All right, everybody. What am I still doing here?
And he's wearing his first order hat, too.
Yeah.
That's not the best disguise there. But I mean, it's interesting that they're both watching the house. They're both watching for the same reason, right? They're both waiting for Andor to show up. I feel like this episode is very, very similar to episode 7, where it's setting us up, but instead of setting us up for a 3-episode arc, it's setting us up for the season finale, right? And what's going to happen with all of these webs that have kind of felt like disjointed recently, are just going to come crashing together, it seems like. And not that they were disjointed, but just like there were single threads holding them all together, and it was kind of you could kind of follow where it was all headed. But now I feel like next episode it's all going to come to a head.
100%. This may be a hot take. Now, we're on the record. We love this show. We think it's a fantastic show. Every episode is a great episode. And I agree that this episode was also a great episode. But my hot take is this may have been one of the weaker episodes, in my opinion, or one of my least favorite, even though I thought it was very enjoyable and I thought it was great. Because it was kind of a lull from last week, ramping up for the next one, just inevitably, it kind of was you had to kind of let down to ramp back up. So it was a necessary letdown to me, but nonetheless, a weaker episode.
I think it'll, in the end, obviously it'll serve the story well, right? It's just hard after such a fantastic episode last week. And we know it just can't be constant, just the way the show is written and the way it's been giving us these kind of ups and downs every few weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I think, yeah, I agree as well. It's interesting too, because there are like, this show, I feel like this episode had like lots of things happen, and a lot of like the other episodes, there's, an equivalent amount of things happening, but you also have a lot of like interesting character developments, and like you're seeing into like very new stuff and characters. And I feel like this show had less of that, where like we didn't really see a ton about Cassian in this episode. All of the Ferric stuff, like you got plot development, but you didn't get the character development. Where I feel like every other episode has been both kind of driving forward and even more of the character development, which I think is why a lot of people have called this show slow and stuff. You get like so many scenes of like just character work. But yeah, this I agree. This was like this episode had a few like season high moments for me, specifically 2 season high moments for me. But then the rest of the episode was like maybe just suffered from like, oh, this isn't the super exciting episode because it has to set up.
It seems like all the characters this episode were dealing with either things that happened last episode or things that happened off screen. So like Cassian and Melshi, they're reacting to the fact that they're out now. Mon Mothma is reacting to the fact that she's become resigned to the fact that her daughter now may be betrothed to a gangster's son, and she's reacting to that. There's no real character development, but we're seeing like she's kind of like she's accepted the loss, it seems like, and all these other people are just kind of dealing with what happened last episode. Even Luthen is like, I know there's a trap out there. I can't do anything about it, but you can join me anyways, and let's go do something, you know? So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, so on Ferrix, the other thing I was going to mention is we learned an interesting burial custom for Ferrix. So we learned with Marva that they're going to, they call it, they are going to brick her. So they're going to, you know, mix her up into some mortar and cement and brickwork and put her in a wall somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a significant wall we're going to see.
They put her in the ground in between California Adventure and Disneyland.
Someone should buy one of those commemorative bricks in like the pathway there and just carve Marva on it.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a great branding thing for Disney. Tourist attraction.
Or put real, ashes and stuff in there.
Yeah, well, what was funny is when we were at this parts of the episode when they're talking about, the funeral, Deidre Miro is like, we want a funeral. Like, we want it to be a spectacle. We're trying to draw Andor in. For a lot of the episode, in my head, I thought to myself, he's not going to go back there. Like, there's no way that he's going back there. And then when the episode ended, I realized, oh, wait, for the purpose of the show, he absolutely has to go back there. Like, that's what the finale is going to be. But in my head, I thought,
a second. Everything's pointing back to Ferrix anyway.
Right. In my head, for some reason, I thought, like, oh, he wouldn't go back. Like, he's not going to go back there. And now I'm like, oh, no, I get it. That's the whole finale. I get it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on Ferrix? I guess we have Bix.
Yeah.
What happened to Bix? Did she was asked a question about when was the last time no, that was in the...
They pulled up a picture of Anto Krieger, and they were trying to check if he was the one she sold stuff to or connected Cassian to.
Which really, the real answer to that question is Luthen, right?
Yeah.
So she could have said, we didn't see what she said, but she could have said yes and thrown the ISB off, been like, oh, Krieger is the contact that connected with Andor.
Mm-hmm. And he would be Fulcrum, right? And they would assume he's Fulcrum. Or no, not Fulcrum. Fulcrum is some other nickname in Star Wars, right?
That's from Rebels. Yeah, so we didn't see what she said, but I think we see the effects of her torture and interrogation. She's like a shell of herself. And but I thought it was interesting that they didn't show us if she was actually like broken to the point of divulging important information. We still don't know if she's divulged anything. So anyway, anything else on Ferrix? I guess I don't.
No, let's move to Coruscant. We see Mon Mothma and
Vel
cousins. And in the other room is Mon Mothma's daughter and some other Chandrillan girls doing some sort of chanting, customary chanting. Right? I mean, that's kind of what it looks like. And
we hold to the old ways.
Yeah.
And we braid our hair.
I wrote again. Here are my notes. Here are my mustache stroking notes for this one, because I was watching with subtitles. So the chanting actually starts in like very softly when we're still watching Bix. So we're still seeing Bix, who again was tortured with these like kids' genocide screams or whatever. And so it's interesting. I think the show wants us to think about like, oh, is our children being destroyed by this custom? And the answer is like, yes, probably. So I think that's an interesting like tie that they're making between like what the sounds Bix heard, and then suddenly we're hearing the voices of these children in the show in this other context doing this thing that apparently is kind of them saying like, yeah, we're gonna. I felt like the implication here, because the poem is all about like, oh, we're safe in the braid of old ways and safe in the knot. So you get like that wedding, specifically that line, safe in the knot. You get that like wedding metaphor. So like, are these girls like committing to marry themselves off? Is that what's happening? That's kind of the vibe I got.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe
the vibe
so.
I got, because I feel like Mon Mothma made a comment about how she was so repulsed by it, and then Vel was like, so is Perrin making her do that? And she's like, no, like she's doing it of her own accord. And it's like, they're like, it's weird that it's more prevalent on Coruscant, and like they're more into it on Coruscant than they even are back home on Chandrilla. I gave my thoughts on that last week with, when that whole thing came up, and I was like, I hope Mon Mothma like does not compromise this and does not sink to the level of marrying off her daughter for that money. But this is an interesting wrinkle of the daughter's like willingly doing it, and Mon Mothma is like, even if Mon Mothma tells her no, she's still going to do it. At that point, if you're Mon Mothma, what's the ethical? Where's the ethical gray area of, well, if you're gonna do it anyway, let's do it to my advantage.
if Mon Mothma tells Leia no, Leia's gonna do it harder. She's gonna like even more. She's such a turd. Leia sucks.
Yes.
Leia's the real villain of the show.
Yeah, that look she gives her mom when she gives Val a hug. She's like, "Oh, you're still here,"
Right. You're over there crying, you big wimp. Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. Like, oh, if Leia's making her own choice, does Mon Mothma just say, well, I don't want this to happen, but I will benefit from it if you're going to do it anyway? Interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but the longer the show goes on, I just don't like Vel. I don't think she's likable at all. I'm kind of over her. Okay, you guys don't agree? Just say it. Just say you don't agree.
I have nothing against her. I think she's fine.
I think she did. So I think that you're right. I think she's intentionally unlikable. Like we know that like part of her, Cinta calls her out for being like, quote, a rich girl running away from her problems or something like that. And so like I think we're supposed to see her as a little immature, and like she got the job done on Aldhani and she like led that team, but I also think we are supposed to see her as like, yeah, she kind of sucks a little bit. She's got to figure some stuff out still.
I mean, Joseph, if you love her so much, name 14 things about her that make her amazing. Go ahead. List them.
I can't think of maybe even 3. So there you go. I don't think she's a great. I just don't know that I have any negative feelings against her other than she's trying to kill my boy Cassian.
I don't like how she treats female associate, shop girl.
Yeah.
In Luthen's shop.
Like, she's trying to not blow cover, and she's just like, I don't care about this. Tell me all the information.
Yeah.
How come I can't meet Luthen? Luthen. Tell me where he is. She's like, do you think you're the only face that we see come through those doors?
Yeah.
You're one of many. You know?
I thought that was an awesome... That was like, put her in her place when Vel was like, I gave him all Donnie. And I wish I knew the character's name.
Clea.
What is it?
Clea.
Okay, Clea.
Leia with a K.
Yeah. Clea's like, I forget the exact quote, but she's basically like, I give him everything all the time. Like, every single thing runs through me. Like, you are not, like, you are not.
You are small potatoes.
Yes. You are not the linchpin in this operation. That's me.
That was great. And like, but still trying to keep the cover of like this double talk, you know? At least she's putting on the double talk while Val isn't. She's totally like trying to, like, no one's listening to us. Like, let's just get on with it. And anyway, great scene. I love those scenes of just the stakes are so high, and you think at any point they're going to blow the cover. Like, cover's going to be blown here. Someone's going to see something or overhear something. You know, there's going to be a shot of a stormtrooper or an ISB guy just right outside going, that seems fishy, you know? It's like this intensity just happens. Anyway, just love it.
And we see that same thing later when Clea is talking with Luthen over the radio. It's all double speak about the bitter and the marketplace is too crowded and all that kind of stuff. And he's basically like, I really want to go after that piece. It's very important.
So I watched that scene twice and I confused myself. I feel like they're talking about Andor as that second thing, but I like couldn't understand. I didn't know if like Luthen knew all the context about like what was happening with Andor on Ferrix. I kind of assumed he hadn't gotten that message yet. So that's why I was like, are they talking about someone different? Is there a third? Are they going to bring in Akbar? Is that who he's talking about?
He's got to show up eventually, right?
We assume so.
I assumed they were talking about Andor. I mean, obviously Luthen the entire season has been very fixated on that is a loose end. It compromises me. He could identify me. I don't feel comfortable with him out there unaccounted for.
Yeah. I think we're going to move now to Luthen goes to see Saw Gerrera. And Trevor, I know you have lots of thoughts about this opening scene here.
Okay.
Let us have it.
So I listened to a Star Wars podcast that has been covering Andor every week. They've been doing an episode, and they very quickly theorized. They were like, Luthen's a Jedi. Like, he's gotta be a Jedi. Do we think this? And that's been like their theory of working through this whole season.
From the beginning, they've been thinking that?
Yeah, because like the way he talks, even like in last, it was like strongest in the last season or the last episode's monologue that he gives, where he's like, you know, I share my dreams with ghosts or whatever. Like, and they were like, who talks to ghosts? Jedi talk to ghosts, you know, and it's anyway. I think, listen, so they have been theorizing this, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. This dude walks up. They're like, oh, we got to search you. Some rando in the background holds up an object. Luthen says, all right, put it away, and then walks in, and that's it. That is it. And that object was a lightsaber.
See, I didn't think it all was a lightsaber.
I didn't either.
And so when you said that in the chat, I was like, oh, was that a lightsaber?
I did not identify that as a lightsaber at all until you said that in the text, and I was like, I need to rewatch this Because I took it as just like another thing from his shop on Coruscant, like some stick, a rain stick. Like, I'm like, what is this thing?
It is so funny to me that the show, like, if you weren't, I watch the show sometimes. The first time I watch an episode, I watch it like while I'm working or something, or like at work, or I'll watch it, on a second screen while I'm doing something else. If you weren't paying attention, you would miss this. And it sounds like maybe there is some room for doubt as to whether or not this was in fact a lightsaber, but like,
doesn't he use it as a walking stick though? Isn't it a walking stick he's used before?
I don't know, man. I rewatched him hold up that thing, and I was like, that's a freaking lightsaber.
It's so interesting. Oh, well, I mean, I wonder if you caught it because you've been listening to the podcast where they thought he's been a Jedi. So you've been looking for the hints because he does do the Kyber crystal right to Andor.
He's got the Sky Kyber.
And then I do like that talk about I share my dreams with ghosts. Like maybe he personally doesn't talk to ghosts, but like all of his friends who were Jedi are now dead. Maybe so. Maybe so.
Absolutely.
And then it would explain why we don't have Luthen. Well, I mean, it would be a convenient way to explain why we don't have Luthen in like Rogue One or the rest of Star, episode 4, 5, 6. Because if he is a Jedi, he'll be hunted and, disposed of, right? So
I have a theory on Luthen's end that we can get to at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
I have theories about the next episode and where the show's going.
Right.
Yeah. All in my head.
What if Luthen is Cal Kestis?
There we go. You heard it here first.
Let's let that marinate for a little bit.
He does wear disguises. Maybe he's a known Jedi, and that's why he keeps putting on wigs and disguises. Because doesn't he do like face prosthetics too? Was it? I know he does the wig. Did he do like a nose thing? And maybe not.
He did something. I don't know. Well, interesting. I did not catch that when I watched it. I thought it was just a little some sort of knick-knack from his shop.
Yeah.
That from another, civilization or something like that. Some sort of artifact. But absolutely could be a lightsaber.
Listen, you have made me doubt, but I'm gonna rewatch that whole scene now to see if he does anything else with this object because I'm tripping out.
How crazy would that be if we see him ignite that sucker and behead cereal eater Cyril?
Mm-hmm.
So we see two tubes. Two tubes brings him in to talk to Saw, and Saw is in full mission prep mode. He's getting ready to go, attack the plant in Spellhouse, and and Luthen's like, hey, let me just throw this grenade into the room here, see how you react. ISB already knows about it.
What a great scene. Like, you sure about that? Yeah, it's off the table now.
It shows what I like about the show is that the alliance doesn't exist yet. It's very much, it's even earlier than what we see in Rebels, which is different rebel cells all working independently. I don't even feel like they have that type of organization yet. I feel like this is literally Saw has his group, Luthen's doing his thing, kind of connected to Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma isn't thinking yet in terms of we're going to organize this into a full coup. She's like not on even there yet mentally.
Right.
And then we have this Anto Krieger guy who's also obviously doing his thing. And I kind of like that there's just like these, almost just like these mini bosses, these, just faction leaders that occasionally work together, but they, it was interesting to see Luthen basically present the information to Saw and be like, you've got to choose what you want to do with this info. Like, this isn't a coordinated strategy type thing, but this is like where we're at. And I'm surprised. I guess I'm not surprised, but it is interesting to see how much conviction Luthen has that he doesn't want to compromise the source that he has in the ISB right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked hard on
He's
that.
like so dedicated to the long game. He's like, no. There is a huge. It'll take so much effort to do what we need to do in this fight. We cannot just give up resources.
Yeah, he kept saying like 50 men plus Krieger. You know.
Yeah.
I want to know if we're gonna at least are we gonna do our boy Krieger dirty and never even see him other than that hologram? Or are we gonna at least get to see that guy in action?
I think nothing. I don't think we'll see it at all. I don't think it serves this. I think the way this show's been going, it will be off screen and we'll just be like, oh, okay, that happened. Because it doesn't serve the rest of the story well, you know?
Oh, so you think next week we're not? It's just that was the last. They decided we're not doing it, and now they're never talk about it again. We'll never.
I think maybe we'll hear something like the raid on whatever went well, and we captured him and killed them all and disposed of that rebel cell. You know, we'll hear something, but I don't think we're going to get a sequence of them being ambushed.
Yeah, I think at best we would get like a 10-second like montage style shot of them, like the the like scene that you get when like you just see maybe they walk into a power station and there's like a bunch of dudes standing there with blasters or something, and then it cuts, right? Like that's it. That I feel like that's the most we'll get of Andor Krieger.
Well, R.I.P. Krieger.
Yep.
Hold on, I want to show you guys something real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Got a walking stick he's got there.
Yes.
I mean, but it also looks like a lightsaber, right? Maybe he just repurposed his lightsaber.
Well, what is that the same hilt though? Is what we see in
I don't know.
The next episode or in this last episode?
I gotta full screen this.
The other thing is this toy shows it as a hidden knife.
Hidden knife.
A hidden laser knife.
Yeah.
But here's that picture again right here.
Okay, that's a lightsaber. Come on.
And then
I don't think that's a lightsaber. That's not the same hilt though. Go back. That is brown and this one's black. Am I right?
I don't know. That kind of looks like a lightsaber.
It's a freaking lightsaber.
Why would they? Here's the other thing you got to think about. They dedicated, 15 seconds, 10 seconds to that? Why would they dedicate that time to this if it's a throwaway hidden knife thing, right?
To me, it looks like a nightstick, like a billy club.
Oh man,
it's looking like here. I want it to be a lightsaber, so now I'm seeing everything lightsaber. You know.
I don't think.
What about this? Okay, I'm holding on to this. I am fully conspiracy theory mode on this. What's going to happen is in the next episode, he's going to be back on Ferrix and he's going to pull it out and a knife's going to shoot out of the handle and everybody's going to be like, oh, it was the hidden knife that we saw in that one picture that Google looked at, or that Joseph looked up during Dads of Dagobah. That's what the fan base is going to say. The other side is a lightsaber.
That would be... it'd be sweet if it was. I just feel like they do such a good job of showing us things, and at first we're like, who cares about that? You know? And then later on, we're like, oh, the payoff comes. And so by showing us the little scene of the guy looking at it, not knowing what it is, and he's like, let's get on with it, you know?
Yeah.
I think we need to finish the episode on a strong note. A great space battle. Listen, this director creator guy can write some great space fights, if you ask me. And this was a minute long, if that? Well, I mean, there was some build up, right? But then the actual action was pretty short. It was great though. Yes. We have an arrestor. I think it's called an arrestor cruiser, right? We were supposed to see them. I think actually it was the original design of what the Imperial cruisers would be, according to the concept art for episode 4. They then tried to use it in Solo. There's a deleted scene where Han Solo is gonna. He's flying his TIE fighter, and I think that's his ship. Is one of those arrestor cruisers. I don't think is this the first time in canon we've seen it. Or am I missing something from like Rebels or something like that?
No, I think it's probably the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was seeing like screenshots floating around from like a card game or something like that. Or like a board game or something that had the art on it. But I think that's all Legends now, so.
Well, I just thought it was an awesome kind of cat and mouse scene where Luthen clearly, everything that he does in that sequence is intentional. Like, he wants them to use the tractor beam because he wants to be able, the tractor beam was that arrestor cruiser's own demise, because by having the tractor beam so strong, when he let out his
shrapnel,
his Mario Kart Batmobile shrapnel, it just tractor beam right into the central dish. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. He
played like a weak bird, like a broken wing, like, oh, something's wrong, everything's okay. Don't do anything, I'm weak. Then they lock on lightly, and then he just pulls up his engines just a bit, so they lock on stronger, right? Then he ejects, destroys them, and then he's just buying time, right, for the calculate the light speed coordinates, I think, right?
Yeah, well, I think that he probably could have gotten away sooner, because they didn't do the tractor beam on him right away.
That's true.
I think that he really did he knew he could take that thing out, and he's like, all right, I'm going to cripple these guys before I head out. But
have some fun with them.
And then obviously they deploy their TIE fighters, and we see what could have been the greatest hero ship ability in Battlefront 2, if only, where he doesn't need that little wooden stick thing he had. He doesn't need a lightsaber because he's got the biggest lightsabers we've ever seen in this franchise.
Infinitely large.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm turning my ship, the Fondor, literally into the Inquisitor's rotating lightsaber blade. And then Joseph, a tribute to your background, he's like, hey, Master Anakin,
let's try spinning.
Spinning, that's a good trick. And he just takes those suckers out. That was a really cool sequence. And it was a sequence that we haven't gotten a lot of stuff like that in the show.
Mm.
We were talking about, a couple weeks ago, Joseph, how other Star Wars shows like Obi-Wan or even Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, they have kind of higher fan servicey type scenes. And we haven't gotten a lot of that in Andor, but it was nice to get it. It wasn't at the, it didn't sacrifice anything else to do it, but it was like, all right, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a moment of payoff that I feel like has been building in like certain ways. This show is all, to me, like build and payoff, where like if we've been seeing Luthen all season and like kind of getting a feel of like, oh, this guy's super competent at what he does. But we find out in this episode that he's a Jedi with a lightsaber. And he can freaking use the Force to one-shot a whole division of TIE fighters. Because before he pulls out the lightsaber, his guns come up, and he's just like, bap, bap, two down, and then lightsabers, and he gets the next two.
Yeah, it seemed like he didn't even need to pull out the lightsabers.
Yeah, he had that whole thing under control. I'm interested to see if we see this interaction come back around. I'm like this ties into some of my conspiracy theories about the way this show is going to go, but I'm interested to see if we see them like recordings, and suddenly the Fondor becomes a problem because it's like an identifiable ship that now has been tagged by. I'm assuming the Empire can record this interaction, and they'll have some sort of reporting that goes out. So I'm interested to see if there's like fallout from this, other than I think that I saw someone say that the like captain on the bridge is somehow represented in episode 4 when they knew Galderon. I don't know if that's like a call out I was supposed to know. I don't know if that's real. Yeah, disregard. But yeah, I'm interested to see if there's fallout from this moment, despite the fact that he got away super clean.
Yeah, it begs the question: why didn't he just use those lasers on the cruiser itself? Like, just turn 90 degrees and have one just shoot straight into the ship. You know,
it doesn't work like that.
Joseph. Straight through the bridge.
Yeah, just zoink.
That's what I thought was happening with those the flechette rounds. Is I thought they were going to go into the bridge and like through the glass and everything, and just like demolish that whole thing. But they went into the satellite dish, and that was cool too.
If I was Bail Organa, I'd be calling up Luthen and Mon Mothma and everyone and saying, "Hey, quit using Alderaan as your cover for everything." It's like we're just a big neon sign. Anyone who is working against the Empire, they're from Alderaan. Like, can we calm down with that a little bit, please?
Wouldn't that be sad if like that little interaction somehow connects the dots further down, you know, like the butterfly beating its wings in the Amazon, whatever. Like that thing set off a chain reaction of Alderaan. Anyway. Lovely show. Great episode. Trevor, you alluded to that. You had some ideas for the final episode. We'd love to hear it. What are your thoughts about the season finale next week?
So, I feel like to me, once I saw Cassian come back and talk to Marva, I like quickly decided that I thought the season was going to end in a like larger scale revolt on Ferrix. So I always kind of figured the season would end on Ferrix, but I thought Marva would be involved. So here's my one conspiracy theory: is that Marva is not actually dead. She somehow got hooked up with some other rebel sympathizers, and this is actually an elaborate part of whatever plan she was trying to do before she died. So this is because we don't see her off screen, we don't see her brick, we don't see her die. So theory number 1 is Marva's still alive. This is part of a plan. Theory number 2, Luthen's going to come in and do some Jedi stuff. And he's going to pull out his lightsaber to defeat a bunch of stormtroopers. No, I don't know. But like actual theory number 2 or theory number 3, I guess, because theory number 2 is pretty much a given. Theory number 3 is that Cyril, we know that like the only way he actually has relevance in this story at this point is that he knows Luthen's voice. And so I think he is somehow, and this kind of ties into like whether or not there will be fallout from this interaction. Like I could see this very much being a story where Cyril he hears the recording that they got from the hauler, from the Fondor when the cruiser was talking to him, identifies the voice, that links the Fondor back to like the Imperial, or like back to the Rebel movement, blows Luthen's cover, associatively blows Mon Mothma's cover, and that's when they all have to break bad and like full on join the rebellion and become like full on rebels. That's my like long-term theory for how they like what eventually pushes their decision to like blow their covers and outright come against the Empire. We'll see though. Those are my theories on how this season, or maybe that happens across season 2 or something. I don't know that all of that would happen in one episode.
That's certainly interesting. Yeah, he has that knowledge of the voice, right? And whether he hears it on Ferrix where he's going next, or he hears it on some recording, I think that is the domino that will fall. That will kind of, that will be the cat's out of the bag now.
I mean, we forgot to mention Cyril in this review that he's talking to his homeboy back on Orlana.
The bad connection.
He's basically that guy, sounded like Trevor did at the beginning of the Skype call. Just
Absolutely.
Cutting in and out, couldn't understand it, misunderstanding. And then Cyril straight up, he steals from his mother's purse, basically.
How could he?
After all she sacrificed for him.
Seriously. He's like,
the love she showed him.
She makes him cereal every morning.
Yeah. We don't have any more Cocoa Puffs, and so I need to go buy some more. And I'm still sitting here wondering when we're going to see Uncle Harlow. I mean, what happened to that?
Well, what happened to Uncle Harlow, and what happened to Andor's sister? Where is she?
Yes.
That plot line died off.
There are the longer we get into this, it's almost like this is becoming the episode 10, 11, and 12 is becoming the last Jedi of the Andor series, where it just abandons all plot lines. Oh man, never gets old.
What a tragedy.
Let's do the over-under on lightsaber being shown next week. Over-under 30%.
Under.
Wow. I'm taking the over on that one.
It's
Trevor, you're taking the over?
I am. That is 100% a lightsaber.
Are we going to see it next episode? Ignited.
Oh, yeah. He's got it in those pictures. Joseph pulled up. It's all, those set pictures are all an illusion.
I love it.
They're pulling a J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, I've been wrong before. I've been wrong before on the over-unders, but I am pretty convinced that wasn't a lightsaber.
Well, anyone else have anything they want to say before we sign off?
That was a lightsaber.
Over-under 3 characters that have had speaking lines dying in the season finale.
What are you setting it at?
3.
Oh, I'll take the over.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be higher. I think we gotta bump that number up. This show is very willing to kill characters.
Okay, name them. What three characters are gonna die?
Brazos, dead.
Who? Brazos? Okay.
Brazos, bell ringer guy from the tower.
He hasn't spoken, has he?
It counts. I think Bix maybe goes. I think let's see. I think Scottish guy could go.
I think Luthen goes.
You think Luthen goes this episode? Maybe.
What's the actor's name? Bill Skarsgård?
Skellen Skarsgård or something. Stellan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Is Bill his son or something? I feel like there's one named Bill. Anyway, Stellan Skarsgård. He's like a big time actor. And I wouldn't be surprised if he signed on for like 1 season.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he'll be in season 2. I feel like he's been a fantastic character, and I'd love for him to carry over into season 2. But like you said, the same thing with the movie Rogue One. You can set up these fantastic characters, but you're almost obligated to kill them off.
Yeah. I mean, they're dying some way or another, right?
Right.
Well, over under that Marva is still alive. Put it at a good 50-50 here.
I think maybe under.
Under.
I don't know.
I'll take the over. I only take the over because I had that thought independently while I was watching the episode. Like, why have they not shown her actually die? Something seems off about this.
They showed her body wrapped up. You think that was a fake body, or she was alive in there?
We didn't see the body.
But you saw a corpse wrapped up.
We saw a something under a blanket.
So what was it?
I don't know, protocol droid?
It could have been Marva. She's just laying very still.
Or it's just Marvel holding her breath.
The indignation in your voice when you suggest to us that was a protocol droid. Like, who do you think you are? I don't know, a protocol droid.
Because they would have those on Ferrix, these the slums of Ferrix. They'd have protocol droids. I think she's alive. Anyway, that's it for this week of Dad's Dagobah. Trevor, thanks for joining us. Glad to have you on here.
I appreciate it.
Everybody,
I appreciate it when you guys sent those messages to me saying we're excited to have you as our first guest. The best guest we'll ever have on the show.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Absolutely. You were very welcoming. No, it's fun. I had a good time talking.
Well, we're certainly excited to see the season finale of Andor season 1 next week on Wednesday, and it's shaping up to be an capstone to what has become, I think, for all three of us, our favorite Star Wars TV show.
Oh, easily.
And so excited to see that and give us a few little teasers to carry us into season 2. So please leave your comments down below on some of your answers to our over-unders that we never revisit and never, ever follow up on or hold ourselves accountable to.
We do these, but then we never judge each other or check up on each other the following week. We should do that. But we won't.
No. We're too busy doing our word of the week.
That's right. Which oftentimes I think of on the spot.
Yes, I never think of it beforehand. And then leave your comment down below on what you're excited for. Is Luthen a Jedi? Was that a lightsaber?
Is it a protocol droid under the blanket?
Was Two Tubes actually an informant for Luthen, and Luthen was telling the truth as a ploy that it might be a lie? I mean, that was just mental games that he was playing at that point with Saw. Saw is already a little unhinged and going crazy, so it was a gamble by Luthen even to bring that up.
That's a great one. Okay, with that, we have spoken.
And this is the way, and we'll see you next time on The Dads of Dagobah.
See you guys. Thanks again, Trevor.
Bye.
Thanks.